Hello everyone. In the last few videos, the lecture which we have discussed was with respect to bill buying and TT buying. As we have discussed earlier also, that there will be two type of transactions: purchase transactions and sale transaction of foreign currency. Till now we have discussed about the purchase transaction, in which we have seen TT buying and bill buying, an in-depth understanding about the concept and calculation we did in the last few lectures. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the sale transaction, that when the bank is trying to sell the foreign currency. And in this also we will take up one by one. First of all, we will take up the TT selling rate, that how the calculation is done, and then the bill selling rate will be taken up thereafter.
So students, as you are aware that in the last lecture, we have discussed bill buying rate. I give you a brief discussion that we did in the last lecture, or in the last few lectures that we can say. We were trying to discuss about the buying and selling of foreign currency, because these are the two type of transactions which are taking place with respect to currency. And we started with the purchase transaction. And in purchase transaction, we discussed about the TT buying and bill buying. TT buying is telegraphic transfer buying, that when the buying of foreign currency is going to take place with respect to any instrument which is itself a cash, that we can say as demand draft or electronic transfer, where there is no delay in making or receiving the payment, such transaction will come under telegraphic transfer. Shortly, we call it as TT. And those transactions which are going to make the involvement of handling the documents, and the handling of the documents automatically will require some time of delay in making or receiving the payment, those transactions will come under bill transaction. So there will be two type of transactions of buying and selling of foreign currency. One we can say as the TT buying, one we can say as the telegraphic transfer transaction, another we can say as the bill transaction. And as you are aware, either the foreign currency will be purchased or the foreign currency will be sold. In both the cases, if we take the consideration of buying foreign currency, then there will be two concepts: TT buying and bill buying. And if we take the concept of the selling of foreign currency, then also there will be TT selling and bill selling. And in the last few lectures, we have completed about the buying transaction, and under buying transaction, we have taken both TT buying as well as bill buying. Today, as a topic of discussion, we will try to take up the selling transaction. We have to take up the selling transaction. That means we will try to discuss how the procedure will be followed when selling of foreign currency will take place. Now, as you are already aware that the buying or selling of foreign currency is going to take place between the bank and the customer. And when we are talking about the selling transaction, it means, and every transaction has to be seen from the bank point of view. Like when we were taking the discussion with respect to purchase transaction, then bank was purchasing. And when we are trying to say selling transaction, that means bank is selling. And when bank is selling, it means customer is buying. That means the customer is going to approach the bank. The customer is going to approach the bank for buying of foreign currency. And when the customer is buying, then bank have to sell the foreign currency. That means the selling rate will be quoted by the bank to the customer. But as we are also aware that banks generally do not deal in holding of foreign currency. That is why when any individual customer or a company or a firm approach the bank for buying of foreign currency, then bank is supposed to approach the interbank market. Interbank market means the market between the banks. Bank has to approach the interbank market. From there, the bank will purchase the foreign currency. I am saying purchase. Bank will purchase the foreign currency as desired by the customer. And when the bank is purchasing foreign currency from the interbank market, the interbank market is selling the foreign currency to the bank. So interbank market will quote the selling rate of foreign currency to the bank. That means the selling rate of the interbank market quoted to the bank will become as the base rate that can be quoted by the bank to the customer. That means the selling rate which is offered by the bank to the customer, it is not the rate which has been decided by the bank itself. It is the rate which have been decided by the interbank market. Interbank market has quoted the selling rate of foreign currency, and that selling rate will be received by the bank, which will be shared to the customer. And before sharing, the bank is going to load their exchange margin, which you are aware, which include the risk cost, which include the expenses of the bank, and which also include some amount of profitability to the bank also. So the rate quoted by the interbank market to the bank will become as the base rate, and on that base rate, bank is going to load the exchange margin, and after loading the exchange margin, the rate will be quoted to the customer. This is the procedure that has to be followed, whether you can say is buying or selling. And as we are taking the case of selling, so we can say the interbank market is going to quote the selling rate to the bank. On that selling rate, the bank will load the exchange margin, and after that, the rate derived will be quoted to the customer as the selling rate of the bank itself. This, and who is the customer? Customer can be an individual, or here mostly the customer is basically an importer who has to import goods and services from the foreign market, but he has to make the payment in terms of foreign currency, because generally Indian rupee is not being demanded in the international market, because our Indian rupee is not as much as popular that is USD or the other foreign currency which are openly accepted in the international market. So that is why importer is always in need of foreign currency as desired by their customer. So for making the availability of required amount of foreign currency, the importer is going to approach the bank for buying the foreign currency, and that foreign currency will be paid to the exporter, the customer of the importer, and settlement has to be done. done. In this way we can say. Now, what is happening here, that when the bank sell foreign currency to the customer, when the bank is selling foreign currency to the customer, then bank will hand over the foreign currency to the customer, against which the bank is going to receive the Indian rupee. That is the only which has to be done. This is the only deal which has to be done, that the bank is going to receive the foreign currency from the interbank market, and that foreign currency will be given to the customer, and against that foreign currency, the bank is going to receive the Indian rupee. That means all the transaction will take immediately. Like if you remember, in purchase transaction, the bank has to hold, but here the holding is not there. The bank has to make the payment of foreign currency immediately. But as we are also aware that bank do not believe in physical movement of foreign currency from interbank to bank and bank to customer, because physical movement of the foreign currency is going to involve we can say wear and tear of the foreign currency also, and other reasons may also be there. So generally the electronic mode is being adopted. Now what happened? When the bank has accepted to sell foreign currency to the customer, what the bank will do? Bank will issue an instrument. Bank will issue an instrument to the customer. An instrument can be a check or draft or any other instrument that he can say. Suppose a customer approach for purchasing 1 lakh USD. Bank will purchase 1 lakh USD from the interbank market, and after that interbank market is also going to credit 1 lakh USD in the account of the bank only. Now the bank is holding 1 lakh USD in their Nostro account. Bank is going to write a note to the customer, and that note will be regarding 1 lakh USD only. That note, that receipt of 1 lakh USD will be given to the customer, and again that 1 lakh USD, the bank is going to receive the payment in terms of Indian rupee. Now that receipt is being held by the customer. The customer will deposit that 1 lakh receipt to its bank, and when the customer bank go for clearing, then the Nostro account of the selling bank, will debit the amount to the customer bank itself. So in this way, the transaction is going to take place. That means, in nutshell, what I am trying to say, you listen very carefully. A customer approached the bank for buying 10,000 USD. Bank will approach the interbank market for buying 10,000 USD. Interbank market will quote selling rate for selling 10,000 USD. Bank will quote the selling rate to the customer after loading exchange margin, and that will be called as the selling rate against 10,000 USD to the customer. Customer will make the payment in terms of Indian rupee. As the bank receives the payment in terms of Indian rupee, bank is going to make the issue of receipt. Bank will make the issue of receipt of 10,000 USD. That receipt of 10,000 USD will be holded by the customer, and customer will deposit that receipt to their bank itself. And then the selling bank and customer bank will have the transaction, and the selling bank Nostro account will be debited to the buying bank or the customer bank itself. In this way, the whole transaction is going to take place. I will also show you the matter also, which you can easily try to understand that what I am trying to say. Just see what it has been written here. When the customer approaches the bank for buying foreign currency, the bank has to quote the selling rate to the customer. For such case, the bank has to take the rate from the interbank market. The interbank market will quote the selling rate to the selling rate of foreign currency against Indian rupee. I have just told you. Therefore, the interbank selling rate will be the base selling rate to be quoted to the customer by the bank. When bank sell foreign currency to the customer, then bank will part with the foreign currency and receive the Indian rupee. The sale is effected by issuing a instrument by the bank to the correspondent bank, which means it maintains a Nostro account. Immediately on the sale deed matures with the customer, the bank buys the required foreign currency from the market and gets his Nostro account credited, so that when the payment instrument issued by the customer, means when कि जब कस्टमर का इंस्ट्रूमेंट अपने बैंक में वो लगाएगा, then it is presented to the correspondent bank, the issue would be the honor of the device. Therefore, all sale transactions are quoted on the basis of the customer, spot basis they can say. And as you are aware that there will be two types of selling rate, that will be TT selling rate and bill selling rate. And you are also aware that TT is going to deal with all electronic transfer. TT is going to deal with all electronic transfer. Like I give you the description itself, that what the TT will say. In this way you can say. This is the format that we have to follow for TT selling rate. USD oblique INR, market spot selling rate. Indian rupee has been shown. Exchange margin. Now, in the purchase transaction, you have seen the exchange margin was deducted because buy low, sell high. Concept was buy low, sell high. So for buy low, that means rate should be low, we have deducted the exchange margin. And sell high, that means now we are selling, we have to add the exchange margin. And whatever we get, that will be your TT selling rate, and that will be rounded off. That will be rounded off in the multiple of 0.0025, and that will be your real, we can say as the TT selling rate.
So I hope at the end you must have understood the basic concept of TT selling rate. In the next video, we will try to discuss about the bill selling rate. Thank you everyone.